Have you ever felt lost, like you're chasing something, but you don't even know what it is? For Daniel Carter, that feeling led him down a path that would change his life forever. It all started on a cold November night. He was just 19. Not a bad kid, just searching for a place to belong, for a way to feel seen. He grew up in a small town with a broken family. His dad a ghost he couldn't remember, and his mom working 2 jobs just to keep them afloat. He wanted more. He found a sense of belonging on the streets, with people who accepted him, but didn't truly care about him. One night, a small job went terribly wrong. A store robbery. A single mistake that would cost him 10 years of his life. The sound of the cell door slamming shut echoed in his chest, becoming the soundtrack to his next decade. The first few years were a blur of anger and resentment. He blamed the system. It blamed life. He blamed everyone but himself. He got into fights. He stopped caring. He numbed himself to survive. But even in the darkest places, a flicker of light can appear. For Daniel, that light was Mr. Reyes. An old man who had spent more years behind bars than Daniel had been alive. He was quiet, calm, and always reading. Daniel used to make fun of him, until one day, Mr. Reyes handed him a worn-out notebook. No title, just pages filled with handwriting. "Read this," Mr. Reyes said softly. "Maybe it'll remind you who you were before the world told you who to be." Inside were stories written by other inmates. Stories of pain, regret, and loss, but also of forgiveness. For the first time, Daniel saw his own reflection in their words. That night, he couldn't sleep. He read every single page, twice. Then, he picked up a pen and started writing. He wrote letters to the man he hoped he could still become. That was the beginning of his transformation. Slowly, he started to change. He joined a prison education program and earned his GED. He started helping other inmates learn to read and write. He even took a job in the library, organizing books. He said it made him feel human again. Years passed. The walls around him never moved, but something deep inside him did. When his release date finally arrived, Daniel stood at the gate with a small bag and a head full of dreams. He thought freedom would be a relief. He was wrong. The world outside was loud, fast, and completely alien. Smartphones, social media. He felt like a ghost. And then came the question on every job application. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Each time he checked yes, he saw the same look on their faces. Another door slammed shut. Weeks turned into months. He was living in a tiny room, surviving on instant noodles, and his hope was starting to fade. But he remembered something Mr. Reyes had told him. Freedom doesn't begin when they unlock the door. It begins when you forgive yourself. So, instead of giving up, he went to the local community center and offered to volunteer. No pay, just purpose. He started working with troubled teenagers, kids walking the same dangerous path he once did. He shared his story, not to scare them, but to show them a different way. Every choice has a price, he'd tell them. Make sure the price is worth it. One of those kids, a 15-year-old named Marcus, was a mirror image of his younger self, full of anger and confusion. Daniel worked with him every week, teaching him to box, teaching him discipline, and most importantly, teaching him how to be calm. 3 years later, Marcus graduated from high school, the first in his family. He sent Daniel a letter that read, "You didn't save me. You showed me how to save myself." That letter broke Daniel in the best possible way. He finally realized his past wasn't something to be erased. It was something to be used. A few years later, Daniel started a small workshop, fixing bikes and teaching ex-inmates practical skills. He hired the people nobody else would, men who, like him, walked out of prison with nothing but shame. His business grew slowly, but it became a symbol of hope, a second chance factory. His story got out. Journalists wrote articles about him. He was invited to speak at churches. And one day, Mr. Reyes, now free himself, "Come to be seat." They sat in silence for a while, just smiling. "I told you," Mr. Reyes said. "Freedom begins inside." Daniel replied, "You were right. I just had to walk free twice." Today, Daniel often passes by the same store where his old life ended and his new one began. He doesn't feel regret anymore. He feels gratitude. Because that mistake, that prison cell, it didn't destroy him. It built the man he was always meant to be. Sometimes we think our past defines us, but the truth is, the choices we make today are what decide who we become tomorrow. Daniel Carter was once a prisoner. Now, he's a mentor, a leader, a man reborn. Every morning, before he opens his shop, he looks in the mirror and says, "I forgive you." And then he smiles, because that is what true freedom feels like. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. If Daniel's story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories of hope and redemption. We'll see you in the next one.